Hello, I'm Helen from Journal with Purpose and welcome to my latest YouTube video. Today I'm going to share a flip through of my latest completed journal, and this is kind of a combination between a junk journal and an art journal. I made this ages ago and started this journal back in September 2023, and I share that because I think sometimes people feel a certain amount of pressure to complete journals in a certain amount of time. I don't, I work in them as and when I'm kind of in the mood for that style of journaling. So I started this very much in a kind of art journal style, using cutouts, little bits of collage, acrylic paint. That was a photo of me that I then altered. And some of this was following along with different art challenges. Some of it was just whatever I fancied. So really has just been a place to play and turn to whenever I feel that this is the right sort of journal for me. So often they're very short journal entries on here, just a few words. I just stamped out here a little thought, and I'd written there, I was hesitant to go, tired, but the air refreshed my soul and the waves breathed fresh life into me, grateful for this moment. And even though that's October 23, I remember that I was really tired, but decided to go to the beach just to sit there on the shoreline for a little while. And so it's just nice having different ways of being able to document those moments. So yeah, I play around with all sorts of different styles in here. This one, just some flower doodles with black acrylic paint and white writing around the outside. And here I started taking part in the Care December Challenge, which is offered by Everything Art. I never managed to keep up with all of the prompts, but the beginning of the month usually starts off well. So I just then take those prompts in whatever direction feels right for me. So there's a huge variety in the paper backgrounds, everything from book pages to gardening magazines in here. And that was some coffee dyed paper. And I really like that one, again across two different backgrounds, kind of a night sky in acrylic paint, then with some gold watercolour splashes on top. But I'd highly encourage having a journal that you can just turn to as and when with no pressure, just knowing that gradually over time those pages will fill up. It always feels like a place that I can experiment with new techniques and ideas as well, because it's a journal that I've made from bits of paper that I've got rather than an expensive journal. So I think it just feels a little bit more freeing somehow. And so here I've got an acrylic paint background with white gel pen on top, and then I've added some embroidery to a piece of denim fabric and added that on top. So this was still back in 2023, and I then didn't come back to this journal until April this year, and I've then actually quite zoomed on with it quite quickly once I got back into this one. I did have another junk journal on the go, which I think I've shared a flip through of here. But I think perhaps because I started this one in one particular style on art journaling, I felt initially that I needed to carry on in that way. And then I used a different art journal. But in the end, I decided to just come back and use the journal. So collage here, that background is from Lisa Young Art, one of her printables, really beautiful. Here I just played around with some different images. I really like those girls from a magazine and thought they'd be fun on top of that bird. And I've added in extra postcards and things along the way so that I've had kind of extra space to be able to add kind of writing spots or jelly plate prints, anything like that. So this was a jelly plate print exercise I think we did on Patreon. So I've got some leaf prints and things in there. I made quite a few of them, and just nice to be able to add in here. And I used little notepads and things to create writing spots. This I was happy with. This didn't work out too well. I tried writing on top of some vellum, which was fine, but because it's on top of a book page, the text underneath really confuses the writing on top, but that's fine. Again, it's something to learn as I'm working through it. This was a card that I'd made and decorated. I glued it to the page and added some texture paste on top. Here I've just used some scrapbooking paper and then a punch along there with stamping along the bottom. This card I made following a tutorial in a magazine, and I've since created very similar kind of designs, both straight into my journals and on other cards. That one I just did some collage over the whole background of that page and added some little doodles on here. This is actually a sticky note. I just glued all of it down again just for another writing spot. This one was one that I created using just kind of recycled items. That was the bottom of a bottle top, teas, kind of labels, packaging, things like that. That was an article my mum sent me and a painting she did, so lovely to have those popped in here. This is some eco-printed fabric that I ordered from a shop on Etsy, really beautiful, but I added some little bits of embroidery there just to attach the two pieces together before gluing it onto my pages. Here again I used some more packaging, teas, chocolate wrappers, that same butterfly stamp with embossing on top, and just some little scraps of paper there to be able to add some journal writing. And then to finish it off, this was made with my die cutting machine and an embossing folder, so I really like the designs on there. And on this book page I added some clear gesso and then some watercolour painted flowers on top. Well, I really hope you've enjoyed seeing that. So it's kind of a bit of a jumble of everything. I've got another journal on the go that I made back earlier this year. Again, this one's quite mixed media-ish. I shared a prompt over on Patreon, which is to create a journal of mini wins, like your daily wins. So that's what I'm using this journal for. And so they're quite painted backgrounds, most of these, and then just adding different details and painting on top and stamps, just finding ways to kind of get writing and words onto all of these busy backgrounds, which often I use kind of clear white gesso just scraped on with an old credit card, something like that. Really useful for being able to add some writing if that's what you want to do when you've already got lots going on the background. So I really hope you've enjoyed seeing that, then maybe it's given you some ideas for your own journals too. And as always, I want to say a massive thank you to everybody who's joined me over on Patreon. Well, thank you so much for being here. I hope you're doing really well, and I look forward to speaking with you really soon in my next video.
Pour the wine, raise a glass, toast to memory, call to